Ooh,
Sexy.
I like it.
Are you Tommy?
All right, gentlemen. So, drinks first, questions later?
Questions later.
Wait, no. Drinks first.
Questions later.
There you go. Cheers.
Cheers. Salute.
Salute.
Cilantro.
Cilantro. Do you just love cilantro or something?
I do,
He
actually.
loves coriander.
No, it's cilantro.
Never mind.
I do love cilantro. I'm glad that I don't taste soap when I eat cilantro.
Yeah, same here. I can never figure out. I love putting cilantro on like almost everything that when I cook.
It's really healthy for you.
Everybody's like, it tastes so gross. I'm like, no, it's fucking delicious.
Yeah, it is delicious. Heck yeah.
Oh, can I cuss in this?
No, you're not allowed to.
Shit. I mean,
Yep.
Fuck.
There it is.
we gotta ban on YouTube.
Back it up.
I'm gonna mute my phone.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Drinks First, Questions Later with Tommy, Ike, and David. We are coming at you with our part 2 to our episode that we started last time on whiskey. We do love whiskey so much that we tried to fit all of that information into one episode, and we decided that there was too much there. Plus, whiskey hits you pretty quickly, and if we drink first too often, then it's hard to get out all of the information in a very succinct and eloquent way. So we're going to come at you with the remainder of some of our fun facts about whiskey. Last time I think we left off on some mythbusters about whiskey. I do know that we wanted to get into a little bit of drunk history or whiskey history. There was a couple things that we touched on. One thing that I don't think we ever mentioned was bottled in bond, what that means. I mean, Tommy, you know about what that is, right?
A little bit. I know that it has to be aged at least 4 years. And
So,
overwatched by government supervision in a
controlled environment.
government sanctioned warehouse.
Yeah. And like part of that goes into like back in the 16th century, I think. No, it wasn't the 16th century. It was like the 17th or 18th. After the United States had become a country, they started running into the problem of too many people making their own moonshine, or what they called whiskey, and people were adding too many things in it that were causing severe illness and death even. Some people were also brewing whiskeys and bourbons and moonshine that were so high proof that they would kill you and just make your liver die.
Like go blind too. That's
Yeah, that was a thing. So the government kind of stepped in and decided to create a system that they called bottled in bond. Let's see
To regulate that.
It was actually 1897. It was an act that was signed in by President Grover Cleveland on March 3rd. And this was the first consumer protection law of its kind in the U.S.
Yeah.
Predating the Pure Food and Drug Act. But basically what it means is like there's a lot of laws that go into it, but for a spirit to be labeled as bottled in bond, it had to be meet the following requirements, like Tommy said. It's needs to age for at least 4 years in a mature wood barrel. It has to be produced and overseen by one distiller at one distillery, and that's like a specific person needs to be the overseer of the entire process beginning to end. And it needs to be bottled at 100 proof,
Yes.
or 50% alcohol.
Proof, right.
Yep.
Proof, most people know proof is half the ABV or double the ABV. So, you know, I want to know more about that.
Actually, yeah, that's a good topic that I can get into. There's a fun story about the origin of the term proof. I kind of just wrote it down, so I'll just kind of read this. But the concept of proof emerged back in the day when the British Navy and merchants needed a reliable way to test the potency of distilled spirits. particularly rum, which was heavily traded and shipped all around the world. It was a staple for sailors, but in the 1500s and 1600s, there was no precise scientific way to test how much alcohol was in a liquid. So there was a rudimentary and effective way that they went about it, and it was the gunpowder test. And if a mixture burned with a steady flame, like they would take their muskets and they would like make it ready to dry fire, and they would take a drop of the liquid and they would put it on the gunpowder and they would fire it, and if it didn't fire, then it was a lower proof.
Like less than 50?
Yeah. Well,
Or lower ABV?
yeah. If the mixture burned with a steady flame, the spirit was considered to be at proof, meaning that it had sufficient alcohol and wasn't watered down. If it failed to ignite, it was under proof, and it was burned. And if it burned too fiercely or explosively, it was overproof. And the test was a rough benchmark for alcoholic strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I never knew that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like I never.
A spirit that would be labeled as overproof is about today's standard 70% ABV, or alcohol by volume is what ABV is.
Everclear,
Oh, yeah.
151.
151. That stuff will
There's
burn.
some absinthes that are overproof.
Absinthe can be like 200 proof.
Wow.
Straight.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't let me try that. I don't want to drink that
Right.
because I
did-
probably would be dead and I wouldn't ask questions later.
No.
I did a shot of Everclear once. Not doing that ever
Yeah,
again.
that's like 190, right? 190.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, no thanks.
a spirit that was at 40% would be 30 under proof. Or, yeah.
And those are terms that they would use.
Those are terms that they would use back in
Underproof.
the day when they couldn't, like, they didn't have the gauges and scientific tools.
The
I
gauges?
like that.
Scientific.
Can we say gauges?
Gauges, yeah,
Oh.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah,
cool.
and that's just kind of a rough history lesson behind what
I didn't know
proof
that. Thank you,
means.
David.
I like
Yeah,
it.
a good rule of thumb is if it's 100 proof, it's 50% alcohol. But
And that's like standard.
Yeah.
yeah,
That would be standard. Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
exactly.
Got all these 40% bourbons over here. Get out
Right.
of here.
Get out of here.
Also, like the first ever bottled and bonded, like certified whiskey distillery was, fun fact, Blanton's.
Blends, yeah.
And that's part of the reason why Albert Blanton and his whiskey became super popular. I actually heard a really fun story about why Blanton's is super popular. Have you heard about the story?
I am not.
Does it have something to do with the Kentucky Derby?
No.
No? No.
But Albert
Nerd.
Blanton, he inherited the company from his father, and he was the only family member that worked as like the bottom of the rung to the president of the company. And he worked it pretty much through his entire life. And they got to a point, like I forgot the exact number, but they had hundreds of facilities and warehouses where they were storing whiskey and aging it and distilling it and everything like that. But what Albert Blanton started doing later in his life was he would go around to warehouse doing quality assurance trips. And he would be sampling different pallets and different barrels. And one thing that he was notorious for doing was every so often he would find a pallet that he loved. And he said to the workers there, he said, transfer this to warehouse H. And for a long time, people didn't know about warehouse
Yeah.
H, where it was.
Yeah.
All they knew was that if Albert Blanton himself loved the pallet, it would be transferred to warehouse H. And that's why, like today, those round bottles of Blanton's, they're allocated and they're so they're pricey
They're
and
sought
they're
after.
heavily sought after.
Yeah.
But if you look at every single bottle of those, look at the label and turn it around and read it, you will see it clearly written, sourced from warehouse H.
Every bottle.
Well, they have other Blantons that aren't, which are cheaper and a little bit more accessible, especially if you're in Kentucky. But all 50 states get a certain number of bottles allocated each
Yeah.
year, And that's because there is a very limited amount that is in warehouse aged. Fun fact, when he died, and like his fortune was being talked about and things like that, the majority of arguments that happened between the family and the fighting over things had nothing to do with the ownership of the company, had nothing to do with the money that was in his bank account. Most people were just fixated on who gets warehouse H.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Was that their distillery master that you're talking about, or was it the owner of the company?
the owner of the company, Albert Blanton.
All right.
Yeah.
I was just looking up their master distiller on here.
Elmer T.
Lee.
Elmer T.
But on the flip side of quality and like top shelf, really nice, favorite of the favorite whiskeys, we can jump to the total polar opposite of that spectrum and talk about PBR whiskey.
Oh.
Ike, do you want to tell us a little bit about PBR whiskey?
I bought this bottle as a joke.
Well, you got to show the
Oh,
well, PBR or
So
PBR?
Pabst Blue Ribbon, it's one of the most popular and inexpensive American branded cheap light beers.
The Pabst Brewery has been around for 125 years.
Damn.
Really?
Yeah, I was
The brewery.
the brewery itself, and they never actually. Let me think. They
Still
never
tastes like
actually made-
Drinks first.
Yeah, they never actually made a whiskey before. So this is an interesting thing. They made it with what the guy that created the Pabst brand. They made it with what he would have had on hand, and so what he would have had available to him had he made this whiskey. So like it was like corn in here, wheat, and a bunch of other things. The interesting thing on here is on the bottle it says aged 5 seconds because they wanted it to be a whiskey, and for it to be a whiskey, it has to be aged. It has to. They say in all of the
It has to be
things I read,
aged.
It has to touch oak. It has to touch oak to be.
Really?
To be
So
a
it
whiskey.
only touched oak 5 seconds.
Yeah. So they age it. They literally age it 5 seconds, and they can call it a whiskey. If it doesn't touch the oak, then it's called moonshine. So if a whiskey that isn't aged in a barrel is moonshine. So technically speaking, I think all whiskeys are moonshine, at least to start with.
Yeah, that's very true.
Mic check.
Plus, it's it's the aging in the barrels. We talked about that last time. It's the aging in the barrels that is the thing that colors whiskey brown or like tan color.
That caramel.
Yeah, and like I think when the U.S. government started creating regulations on whiskey, they did specify that it needs to be aged in oak barrels, but they forgot, or they may have intentionally left out. I like to think that they forgot to clarify how long it needs to age in the barrel.
They didn't
So
say that.
Pabst Blue Ribbon decided, hey, let's be cheeky and let's create a huge vat of whiskey that has a dripper, and it drips and runs whiskey through an oak barrel for 5 seconds, and it runs out the other side.
That's
And
That's
that
genius.
technically changes it from moonshine to
are we gonna try
whiskey.
it?
I'm going to pour it into our ABC things. We're going to try it right now. Since we're talking about it, might as well.
Yeah.
We're
well,
opening this
there's
live.
4 glasses.
Well, that's for the coming up taste testing.
Michael can have some.
Also, real quick shout out. We haven't talked about this at all since our last episode, but how dope are our new backdrops?
Oh, I was about to bring that up.
Last time these were kind of minimalistic and simple, but our brilliant and very skilled artist over here, Tommy, decided to do some flexing.
I am Tommy Maldonado.
Maldonado. That's
Been
a good
bartending
one.
for 100 years.
Okay.
But yeah, you did good. These are
Yeah,
beautiful.
man.
If you follow us on Instagram, D1Q2
I enjoyed it.
pod on Instagram, you can see the time lapse.
Shout out to the 787 crew. You know who you are.
All right. You guys want to try this?
Not really. But
doing it
I
anyway.
will. I will.
I think for research purposes,
Yeah.
David, we have to try it.
Yeah.
So
for
on
sure.
on their website, it specifically says that this is not a whiskey to be judged; it's a whiskey to be drank.
So this is not a blind taste test. This is like a
Yeah,
Sounds
hold
good.
on one
Like,
second, Tommy.
when
Let me
is-
do that again.
For our
There you go.
ASMR
Oh my
fans
gosh.
out there.
You pop that cherry.
You want some, Michael?
No.
Yes.
No, I'm driving.
No.
Oh, he's got a point there.
Jesus
I
Christ.
gave you more than anybody else.
That's a lot for David.
Oh, fuck you.
This is for research purposes.
Yeah, you're right.
You
No, it
asked if I
smells,
wanted to try it, and I
it
said
smells
no.
like
Wait.
rubbing alcohol.
Why did I get the D glass? Is it because I'm a dope?
You're a
sure.
dope dude.
Oh
Dope
my god,
dude.
I gotta have a chaser for this. This is gonna be
Oh my
bad.
god. Oh god. This doesn't. This is whiskey.
By definition, it's technically whiskey.
Yeah.
It smells like vodka.
It does. It also smells like.
It looks like vodka.
A lot of corn. I get a lot of
It
corn.
also smells
a lot
like.
of corn.
It also smells a little bit like tequila for me.
It's as clear as my bank account.
You ready? Cheers, guys.
It's as clear as my
Oh, I hate
romantic
this.
future.
Oh man, this doesn't smell good, dude.
No, it does not.
It's like it smells like tequila.
It's actually not as bad as I
And
thought it was gonna
vodka.
be.
Yeah, it tastes like a hybrid between tequila and vodka.
Cause you smell that,
Yeah,
right?
no, you can
smell
actually
that.
taste it too. It does taste a little bit like vodka.
I do
like
smell
tequila.
corn.
A lot of corn. There's a lot of
Yeah.
corn.
Nope.
Oh,
I'm just nosing it
No,
right
you-
now.
I'm waiting for Tommy.
didn't you already buy? You said you bought a bottle at one point.
I
when it first
bought,
came out.
like,
You
no,
know,
my
I-
brother bought one like years ago, and we tried it, and
Yeah, this bottle's gonna sit here for a
Since the
while.
last episode, I haven't drank as much as I did since the last.
I was waiting for you to say at all, and I was like, really now?
We had a drink last night.
Tuesday.
All right, cheers.
Cheers, David.
Drinks first.
I
I
already tried mine. Oh,
It tastes like tequila.
it does taste like tequila. I hate tequila
honestly,
so much.
it does. It does have a. There's a lot of vanilla too.
Corn and vanilla.
Corn and vanilla, and then now I'm getting like.
I'm probably gonna finish
It could be the gummy bears I ate, but
I really don't want to
but
finish the rest
it's
of this.
Sugar
sweet.
green apple?
It's sweet. It's sweet.
It actually wasn't as bad as I was, because I've already had it before.
That's
It wasn't-
disgusting, though.
It wasn't as
in
bad
my
as I
opinion.
thought it was gonna be. It is gross. It is very
Out of
gross.
10, what do you think we would rate that, guys?
Yeah, a comment down below.
I'd give it, in my opinion, a 4. 4 out of a high
I've
10.
had worse. I've had worse like that. When I drank that Everclear, yeah, that was worse than this.
I put that in the same ranks as
Fireball?
Fireball.
You know what's weird?
No, Fireball's way better than that.
No.
Oh, yeah, Fireball's way better than that.
Really?
way better
Yeah.
than that.
I would drink so much Fireball
I mean,
before drinking that.
They both are not good. So
Well,
Well, Fire-
for
I
some
don't
reason
think-
now, it's reminding me of mezcal, like a tequila mezcal that's less smoky.
it does have that like that the agave flavor.
I'm going back.
So
here, guys.
mezcal itself
Let
is
me
definitely
see.
a lot browner.
I'm going back.
Let me
here.
see the. So there's 52% corn.
Okay.
Okay. 27% barley, 17% wheat, and 4% rye, according to the mash bill right here.
And it's made to be mocked, not drank.
Yeah, it's supposed
Right.
to be. It's supposed to be put mixed into things. It's a mixing.
Well, like
You said yes to it.
I would never put this in a whiskey sour because then it tastes weird.
The way that I would use that behind the bar would not be as a whiskey. I wouldn't use it in a whiskey cocktail.
No.
I would actually use that to make like a lemon drop
Actually, yeah.
for a dude that said that he liked
It's like
whiskey.
tequila. Smell this. You like tequila, Mike?
No, I don't.
Just smell that.
He likes
Smell it.
vodka.
Smell it. It smells like tequila.
Ugh.
See,
Yeah, that bottle's
It
probably
does,
gonna
right?
stay here for the rest of time.
Probably.
yeah, it's weird.
It's going to be.
It's
one
a
of the
hybrid.
only-
It's a hybrid.
It's going to be one of the only liquor.
The only liquors that we're not going to drink the rest of the
I was
show.
going to give away our set dressing secrets.
So, anyways, we can move on a little tiny bit from quality whiskeys. Blech.
5 second
quick.
quality.
5-second quality.
So,
things that are made to be mocked.
I love how they made it a joke. Like the entire thing is a joke.
Yeah.
Essentially.
It tastes like a bad joke. But anyways, one thing that I thought would be cool to talk about would be whiskey during the Prohibition.
Okay.
Because whiskey, the Prohibition, for those of you who don't know, was the season of time. It was between 1920 and 1933 that the 18th Amendment banned the manufacture, sale, and transport of alcoholic beverages. And the Volstead Act defined what was considered an intoxicating liquid. And basically, one of the fun facts is that whiskey was one of the only exceptions to the prohibition. They made allowances for it because it has medicinal benefits, which is don't tell an alcoholic friend of yours that it has medicinal
No,
purposes.
but most spirits started medicinal.
Oh yeah,
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up. Like one of the things during that time, the doctors could prescribe alcohol.
yep.
As a
Doctors
thing.
wrote prescriptions
Yeah,
for
so
it.
you go to the drugstore down the street and you pick up your allotment of.
Fun fact: it was Walgreens. Like
Walgreens,
Walgreens was one of the drugstores, or the
No way.
Yeah, it was around back then.
No
It's
That
way.
old.
They've been around
No,
for
but
a
like
while.
they prescribed the whiskey.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
prescribed whiskey.
Oh my gosh.
During Prohibition, yeah, there was a legit thing that they did.
If we don't have it yet, they should be our sponsor.
Walgreens?
Walgreens.
CEO of Walgreens, we'll hit you up.
Yeah. But because of the prohibition, that created a huge explosion of what are known as speakeasies, which are hidden bars. And lots of like famous hotels were like after the prohibition ended, a lot of these hotels came clean and admitted that they had constructed and built
Yeah, of course.
hidden bars that were behind secret doors and secret passageways in the basement and stuff like that, where people could go and illegally enjoy and consume alcohol.
So something interesting, I can't remember who was president when the Prohibition ended, but the day that Prohibition ended, there was a brewery that sent a case of beer to the president. Technically speaking, they shouldn't have been able to make it because they weren't able to produce it until.
Could have been
So
5
start
seconds.
producing it. Was that?
Like a 5 second, like.
Yeah, something like that. But they sent the beer to the president that technically shouldn't have been made because they weren't able to produce it until the moment that it was signed back
Legally,
into law.
legally.
Yeah.
It was the 21st Amendment
Yeah.
that undid the prohibition, and that was in 1933.
There's a brewery out there called 21st Amendment Brewery, and they do all of their beers are like American themed. It's really cool.
So in First Street Pub, when I worked there, Sonia, the owner, she had a back office, and there was another room connected to her back office, and it was under the back stairs. I don't know if you guys remember First Street Pub, but under the back stairs there was like old bottles from like the 1920s,
Really?
1930s. Yeah, like vintage bottles. back
Those
there.
would be
I think she sold it on eBay, if I'm not mistaken, because she was saying that it could be worth a lot of money. There's a lot of history,
The prohibition.
Yep.
but like,
But
yeah.
there was a lot of illegal and hidden bars that sometimes you needed a password to get in, which
Yeah,
was
of
kind of
course.
cool.
It's kind of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the Ink and Paint Club. Walt sent me.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
You know, modern times, when we had COVID, no bars, no restaurants were open, and
A lot of speakeasies at that point too.
There's a lot of private clubs.
I did work at a private club
Yeah.
where you didn't need a password, but
You neted to sign the guest list.
you had to sign a guest list with your name and pay $1 and, abide by the rules, which was, we're all here to have a good time because, everything's shut down.
Yep. And that was around the time that First Street closed, right? Yeah.
2020. Recent times.
But the coolest part about the prohibition was that because of how much underground chatter and underground activity sparked up to allow people to still consume alcohol, there were so many different prohibition-style cocktails that were born out of that. And part of the reason Tommy mentioned it last time, or I think in our intro episode, but a lot of old cocktails used to have only 3 ingredients, partly because most of the bottles were limited. Like they were, you couldn't
Or
buy them.
ingredients were limited,
Yeah. And so drinks
couldn't get-
like the Old Fashioned, the Whiskey Sour, the Manhattan, those all gained popularity and were birthed around that time.
I got 2 things I want to bring up in here. There was a bar. It wasn't a bar. It was a guy's basement. It was essentially a speakeasy. This was like back in like 2017. I think around there, maybe 2015, 2016. It was called Dean Scene. It was a guy's basement in Portland. It was right across from like Alameda Brewing, but he brewed his own beer in his basement, and you went in there. You brought a bottle of beer to share, and then you got to drink whatever beers were that he had available.
Did you get to take some with you? When you left?
No, you don't get to take any with
Okay.
you. But you only did like half pours. So you have like a small glass, and you only did half pours.
Okay.
And so I went there all the fucking time. It was awesome. Dean's Scene was amazing. It was unfortunate after Dean passed. Like some of my best friends like I've met there.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, nowadays, if people refer to speakeasies, like, it obviously is legal to drink now for the majority of Americans. And also, disclaimer, if you are 21 years or if you're 20 years or younger, this is not for you.
Yeah.
Please drink responsibly. Alcohol is for 21 and older individuals. But speakeasies are private, hidden establishments or places where people can go to consume alcohol. They're usually behind a hidden door. They're kind of a novelty nowadays.
So this place was a speakeasy because the OLCC tried to shut him down several times.
Really?
Because he didn't have a liquor license.
Yeah.
Wasn't legally allowed to like sell. Like he used to charge people money to get in. The OLCC showed him like you can't fucking do that.
That's funny. Who ratted him out?
Wait, he charged people?
Well, no, the OLCC inspectors would show up to the place to drink with him.
Well, they had to find out from someone.
Well, no, they were friends with him, and they're like, we have to enforce these rules now, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the other thing I was going to bring up. We were talking about Prohibition. So I've got this book here. It's Inside the Shelton Gang. My great grandmother's maiden name was Shelton. So she was a sister to the two brothers that ran the Shelton Gang, and so there was an article. It was
So that was her brothers?
yeah. So Saturday Evening Post had the Shelton Gang on their cover at one point during Prohibition, and they titled them America's Bloodiest Gang.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, I think they were one of the first people to do an aerial bombing on American soil. They dropped an incendiary device on the rival gang's headquarters. They killed a dog. I think I already mentioned this.
You did. We do not condone the killing of dogs.
No, definitely don't.
Especially with incendiary bombs.
But we will definitely a later episode. We'll go.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something
I
else.
think definitely in a later episode we'll go into a little bit more detail about this because I need to read through this book again.
Yeah.
You want to hear a really funny story?
Sure.
So apparently, back in 1777, at Valley Forge, George Washington's troops were starving, freezing, and demoralized. General Washington, a known whiskey enthusiast, who later himself built a distillery at Mount Vernon, wrote to Congress requesting more supplies, specifically mentioning whiskey. He argued that it would boost morale, help fight disease. Supplies eventually trickled in, including barrels of whiskey, which soldiers used as both a warming drink to keep them from freezing and a makeshift antiseptic.
Wait, can I say something?
Yeah.
But a lot of the whiskey, was that American whiskey or Canadian whiskey?
I think Canadian whiskey is just a style of whiskey, actually.
Well, that
but
would
like-
have been in 1777, so probably prior to the colonization of Canada.
Yeah,
So,
actually,
American?
So it would be American whiskey.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
isn't Canadian whiskey technically, it can be a product, but it also just is a type of whiskey?
Yeah.
We
Pendleton-
covered that last time, yeah.
Pendleton whiskey is a Canadian whiskey.
Canadian style, yeah.
Another fun story is in 1875, there was what is called the Great Whiskey Fire of Dublin.
Oh, God.
It was June 18th. A malt house fire in Dublin ignited 5,000 barrels of aging whiskey stored nearby. The blaze
Waste.
sent rivers of flaming liquor flowing through the streets, reaching depths of sometimes 2 feet.
Oh, God.
And people were reportedly going out into the street, scooping up the burning whiskey with pots and buckets, trying to drink it, despite it being on fire. Despite
I've heard
it
this
being
story
on
before.
fire.
Is that legit?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's legit?
The fire actually killed 13 people, not from burns, but from alcohol poisoning after having consumed the raw, unaged spirit
Oh,
from the streets.
The moonshine. Technically, it would have been moonshine.
Yeah.
It's unaged.
It
Where-
took days.
That's in Ireland?
Dublin, yeah. It took days to fully extinguish, and the
Wow.
cleanup was sticky and boozy.
Boozy. Dang.
That's not fun.
I
I love that story.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Who knew alcohol played such a big role?
I was gonna say, if you go for that PBR whiskey again,
No, I'm not going for
No, no, you should,
Over
actually.
here.
I should
You should.
go for the PBR. Whiskey.
You're probably the only one that would drink it of all of us.
Make him finish that one.
I'll finish it later.
You
But
can
your
have
drink
it.
first.
It's yours.
Questions later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to be questioning my decisions after I drink it again.
Yep.
If anybody wants to buy this bottle of PBR whiskey, we'll sell it to you.
Yeah. It'll be opened and barely drinking.
Yeah, barely touched.
We'll sign the bottle.
Yeah, we'll sign it too. Yeah.
And
Send,
I'll steal Tommy's hashtag and I'll write vomit on it.
It's
Yes.
definitely not as smooth as Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah, send.
Oh, Tennessee whiskey.
Chris Stapleton.
I was going to say,
Chris
send all inquiries
Stapleton.
to drinks first, questions later at gmail.com.
Hell yeah. So, yeah. Chris Stapleton, back in 2015, he came out with a very popular song called Tennessee Whiskey.
And this is his whiskey.
Is that his?
Yeah.
He's co-founder.
No way. I love that. I did
That's
not know
crazy.
that.
Neat.
I remember hearing about
Oh,
shoot.
careful.
Quiet on
Well,
set.
He also, like, the
Did you
line
drink
is, the line
I
is, you're
think I
as
did.
smooth as Tennessee
Oh, I
Whiskey.
love that song. So good.
Is that accurate or BS? Like, is Tennessee Whiskey smooth?
Jack Daniels, it is smooth, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's smooth.
Well, according
It's
to
smoother than American bourbon.
according to the internet and to AI, it is, and it's known for its smoothness due to the charcoal filtering. And the sweetness is metaphorical, but it nods to whiskey's softer side.
It's a mellow mash, I think that's what it says on the bottle. Mellow or sour mash.
Really?
That's what it says.
Oh, sour mash. That makes me think of Shanks. Dude.
What is Shakes?
Yeah.
So I have a fun story real quick. I went last year to visit my older brother who lives in Bend, Oregon. And we went out for a really nice dinner one night, and his wife knew of this place that was really exclusive. They had a very limited amount of like steaks and burgers, and part of why we were going out was where she was like, you have to try this burger. It's really good. So we have to
Yeah.
get there right when they open, get our name on the list, which we did. We got in the bar, and they asked if we wanted to sit at a table or at the bar. And it was a really nice establishment. And so me and my brother and the rest of us were like, yeah, we want to sit at the bar here for sure, because a bartender at this kind of place is probably going to know his stuff,
Yep.
which
I always
he
sit at the bar.
clearly did and was very thorough in his knowledge. And we came to find out later that he was the bar manager and inventory overseer too. So he ordered all of the things that were up on the shelf. And so we were asking him questions, talking about Blanton's. He was the one actually said that Blanton's was super overrated, which prompted my brother to ask him, what's your favorite kind of bourbon or whiskey? And he, without pause, without any question, he turned around and he reached up and he grabbed this bottle that's called Shanks. And he didn't tell us really anything about it. He just poured a glass for each of us, or he poured a little taster, which that's part of the reason why I'm not mentioning the establishment, because I don't think he charged us for it. But because we were talking about bourbons and nerding out, he got excited and
Yeah.
was willing to share a sip of it with us.
He knew that they were aficionados and
Well,
wanted to share his faith.
I immediately fell in love, ordered a glass. I think I paid like $46 for the glass. Loved every sip of it. It was the best. I took a photo and was so pumped. So after
hold
that
on.
trip,
$46 for like
a pour,
Yeah.
a single shot pour.
No, he was so ecstatic.
I was
Yeah.
pumped, and I came home, and my next shift at Old Town, I was pumped. I ran up to Tommy.
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, Tommy,
yeah.
check out this bottle. We need to get some
Yeah.
of this."
So
And then-
just like the bar manager, I reach over here, like,
And
you mean
this jackass? He was like, "You mean this bottle right here?"
Well, I had to get my stool because I'm
And
short, but
I was so ticked off. I was excited, but I
Yeah.
was more pissed because I
So-
was like, "Why in
yeah.
the world have you never shown this to me?"
So Shanks and Bomberger, they released at the same time. I don't know if they're made from the same distillery. I'm not entirely sure, but when they came out, I think they came out last year or a year before that, a year before last. But they released at the same time. They're allocated bottles, super hard to get, a little more expensive than the allocated bottles that you could find, like Eagle Rare, Blanton's, or Weller's. So more expensive. It's like $120.
Yeah,
Retail
I have
or
checked
MSRP.
so many
Yeah.
different liquor stores and establishments for it. I've only found it at bars here and
You know,
there.
I heard that Old Town has an extra bottle. Maybe we could ask the owner of the bar. If you love it so much, you know,
I would bribe and
I don't see
do
why-
so much to get my hands
I'd
on
probably
that.
help.
Shout out to Justin.
Shout out to Justin.
I'd help you. I'd help fund that acquisition.
How much more do you want to become the best boss in the world?
Would you like to know more? Sorry, bad reference, bad
But Shanks, spelled Shenks.
Yeah.
It's
It's very smooth.
yeah, it's
I think-
delicious. It's a sour mash, small batch.
Yeah.
Which a sour mash, what that means is it's like a portion of a previously fermented mash is added to each new batch. So it's kind of
So
like
it's not it's okay. So it's not a single barrel or like
a small.
It's
It's a small batch.
a small batch, but blended with the
Yeah, and
a
for,
different mash.
for those of you out there that love to bake bread or make sourdough, in my opinion, how I thought about it and the explanation was, why is like an 80-year-old sourdough starter so great? And it's like it's been going around and around and creating this bread that's aging and maturing. And so they've been using small portions of very, very old mash
Yeah.
that they add to the new batches. And it's just
And it
so
works.
good. It's
It works.
91 proof.
Is it 91?
Yeah, it's delicious. 45.5%.
So then it'd be what was that? 35 under, something like that. Underproof. We were just talking about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's true.
Talking about that again.
True story.
True facts.
Yeah, I'm just making sure we're current with what we're talking about, or like
Yeah.
keeping up with what we're talking about.
No, Dave's actually been pretty 100% honest. I'm listening to you and I'm watching this as I type everything.
What are you watching?
No, I type
Oh.
everything you guys say, and I.
I haven't been checked, have I?
It's all factual. I
Rock
mean,
on.
via Google, obviously.
Yeah.
Shout out to Google.
Fun fact, Bing is my favorite way to Google things.
It's my favorite thing, dude. Because Google's a verb.
You know, Dave, I think you said that in every episode.
Yeah, it's my favorite
your
original
line.
statement.
Bing is my favorite way to Google things.
During the episode, everything David said has been 100% on point.
Real quick though, if there are any questions that any of
Of
you
course.
thought of, like while we
Yeah.
were talking about any of this, we would love to hear. Throw a little comment down wherever you're watching or listening to this, and
Because I want to learn just as much as you want to learn.
yeah,
So if there's something that we didn't cover that you have a question about,
You can
we might be nerds, but we definitely don't know it all.
put a comment down below.
they're nerds. I'm not.
You can
I'm
also-
kidding. I'm a nerd too.
Like
You can
and
also email
subscribe,
us,
yo. Like and subscribe.
You can also email us drinksfirstquestionslater@gmail.com.
Yep, like and subscribe.
Is it drinksfirstquestionslater
Follow.
at gmail.com? I've been saying that all fucking show.
I hope so.
Is
I
it
put that
I thought it
in
was
the episode.
D1Q2.
No, D1Q2.
We'll check that later.
Do info@d1q2.com.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And I
do that
think
one. We'll
that's
do that
the segue to
The
the last sipper.
The last sipper.
Double
We
check.
need to get some like Gregorian chant music or
Yep,
something
drinks.
that comes up.
Drinksfirstquestionslater@gmail.com.
That is so freaking long.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
But info@d1q2.com.
All right. Wait, how are we doing this?
I think we're doing it the same way every episode.
Are we doing it?
I don't know what we're doing.
We're sipping it in our minds.
Yeah. All right. Cheers. Wait, drinks first.
Questions later.
Wait, hold on. You
You
guys all
gotta
got
get a
glasses.
clinker.
Wait, I need whiskey. I need.
What are you doing, man?
Should I put vodka or whiskey?
I'm in the middle. I'll say
This
drinks.
is a whiskey episode. This is a whiskey
is.
episode.
I'm in the middle. I'll say drinks first. You guys say questions later. What do you think? Okay.
Okay.
Drinks
Drink
first. I'm gonna say it. You say questions later.
Okay.
Drinks
Drinks
first. God damn it.
Damn it. Why don't we just say all together?
Drinks
first. Questions later.
I like it.
Drinks first.
All right, Tommy, now throw this around.
Fuck. Are we gonna end it like that every time?
I'll try it.
We better.
I'll try it.
I need like circus music.
Oh,
Irish whiskey.
For those that don't know, the song, the quote-unquote circus song,
I caught it.
title of Incredible Gladiators. And a lot of people don't know that.
Interesting.
Well, the song starts out super epic.
All right, who's ready?
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.